Welcome to a Sports Angle on PRConnectionsRadio.com, the voice of new media. I'm your host, Ian Rickelli. And, we're going to be doing a lot of MLB discussion, talking about 2023 opening day. And we're going to be going over some notable teams, some notable players, and some notable stuff that happened in opening day. But we'll be right back here after this quick intro.
PR Connections Radio presents
PR Connections Radio. That's great. Voice of new media. One of the best. Now, this opening day, it was an amazing time to be a baseball fan. And more importantly, it was a good time to be a fan of the team right behind me. You see, right behind me, we have Wrigley Field, home of the Chicago Cubs. And they had an amazing opening day. They beat the Milwaukee Brewers 4-0, and it was a fantastic game. And they're really the first team I'm going to spotlight here on the Sports Angle on PRConnectionsRadio.com, the voice of new media. I mean, the Chicago Cubs did exactly what they had to do on opening day, and that was not just annihilate, but shut out the Milwaukee Brewers. And if I got to give credit to anybody, it's got to go to their starting pitcher in Marcus Stroman. Marcus Stroman, he had a near perfect opening day for the Chicago Cubs. I mean, his stat line was great. 6 innings pitched. He only allowed 3 hits. He had 8 strikeouts and did not allow a single home run against Milwaukee. I also have to give a little bit of credit to Keegan Thompson, Brad Boxberger, and Michael Fulmer because they only let up 1 hit in 3 innings pitched among the trio. So only allowing 1 hit, that was a pretty special situation out there in Chicago. I also want to mention the fact that you had people like Dansby Swanson, who had his first hit as a Chicago Cub. He went 3 for 4 on opening day out there in Chicago. And you also had some pretty good performances by Ian Happ, who went 1 for 2. And I also want to give a little bit of credit to Trey Mancini for also getting his first hit as a Chicago Cub. So Chicago Cubs, they were the first team that really stood out on MLB opening day because of the fact that the Chicago Cubs shutting out Milwaukee and starting out the year with a W, a 1-0 affair. A second team you really got to pay attention to, and a team that opened up the season with a bang, is their rival in Chicago, the team that was opposite of them, and that is the Chicago White Sox. Now, Chicago White Sox, they took on the defending, reigning World Series champion, and that was the Houston Astros. And the White Sox, they put Dylan Cease, the former Chicago Cub, as their ace, as their starting pitcher of the day. And he had a phenomenal 10 strikeout performance, and he in 6 innings pitched, only let up 1 run on 2 hits. He had an amazing opening day. For the Chicago White Sox, Dylan Cease was incredible. I also want to point out that you had some good performances from Luis Robert and Tim Anderson. They went 2 for 4 respectively. But what really also caught my eye was the fact that you had Yasmani Grandal hitting a home run on opening day for the Chicago White Sox, the catcher who they paid a couple of years ago to be brought over to Chicago, hitting a home run on opening day. That was a solid situation. Now, what wasn't so solid was the Houston Astros. The Houston Astros letting up 6 hits and then getting 10 by the end of the day. Rafael Montero letting up a home run at the 8th inning to Yasmani Grandal. You also had Valdez, the starting pitcher for the Houston Astros, him having 6 hits given up and only 4 strikeouts. He had a very somber opening day. I also want to say that for Alex Bregman to have 2 strikeouts and not a single hit on opening day, that was unfortunate. However, Yordan Alvarez, him going 2 runs and going 1 for 3 was pretty solid. I also want to mention a team that I really think is going to turn some heads this year, and that is the New York Mets. A New York Mets taking on the Miami Marlins on opening day, and what an opening day it was. The New York Mets, a 5-3 win against Miami. And the New York Mets really doing what they had to do. Max Scherzer with 6 strikeouts in 6 innings pitched. I mean, he only let up 1 home run, unfortunately, but he had a solid season for the New York Mets. He's starting it out with a bang. Now, I will also say I'm going to give some credit to Jeff McNeil, Starling Marte. They went 2 for 4, and it was just a really good day to be a New York Mets fan. And them going up against Sandy Alcantara, who was the reigning reigning Cy Young Award winner. He only had 2 strikeouts. He had 3 hits. Gave up 3 runs against the New York Mets. So it was a very unpleasant game for them. So the 3 teams that really caught my eye on opening day was Chicago Cubs, Chicago White Sox, and New York Mets. Now, I do expect a lot from these respective teams, and I believe they will get the job done this upcoming year. So, now that we're going to get into the next segment here on the Sports Angle on PR Connections Radio, this will be a half-hour show tonight. You're going to talk about the broadcasting rights with MLB. Now, there was the report about the Diamond Sports Group, who holds the broadcasting rights for MLB, and the fact that they had to file for bankruptcy. They had to declare bankruptcy. Well, there was a lot of confusion about what would happen to the 14 MLB teams that are under Diamond Sports Group. What would happen to the 14 teams whose broadcasting rights are a part of Diamond Sports Group? Well, MLB has come out with an announcement that Diamond Sports Group will still have to pay certain teams for their rights. For example, the Seattle Mariners, San Diego Padres, they are going to be owed X amount of money by Diamond Sports Group. So just because they filed for bankruptcy doesn't mean that they can't be excluded from paying certain teams their TV rights. We've also been reported that MLB will have streaming rights, MLB TV, you have Apple TV. MLB will thankfully be able to help out these 14 MLB teams, and they're not going to leave them abandoned, and teams are not going to be stranded in this upcoming year. So what's going to happen is that MLB is going to set up their own broadcasting rights. They're going to set up their own streaming deal. MLB is going to run this as a league. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens there. And it'll be really curious and really fascinating to find out how this works this upcoming year. Now, we're going to move over to the Houston Astros, because the Houston Astros, after winning the World Series this past season, they unveiled their World Series championship banner at Minute Maid Park against the Chicago White Sox on opening day. They had the whole ceremony. They had the banner. They unveiled it. You had the train with the train tracks. It was a really special situation. They had musician Megan Thee Stallion do the first pitch. You had Mark Wahlberg. He was there as well. He made a little joke about giving his thumb to Jose Altuve if he needed it. That was a funny moment. You also had Cody Johnson, who was who did the national anthem for the Houston Astros, country artist, Cody Johnson. So it was a special event for the Houston Astros. They really went all out when it came to the Houston Astros organization and their opening day. But there has been a question that's kind of illumined the Houston Astros, a question that you really have to ask yourself. When the 2017 World Series scandal happened, baseball fans were outraged at the Houston Astros. There were baseball fans that wanted them to be stripped of their World Series title. There were people who truly believed that the Houston Astros were stealing, it was illegal, it was cheating, it was against the system, and it should not be allowed. There was other fan bases and other teams, by the way, that kind of thought, you know what, this isn't that big of a deal. The Boston Red Sox were caught using Apple Watches. New York Yankees, they were stealing signs. The LA Dodgers, they were accused of stealing signs as well. So with all these teams that were doing this heinous situation, a lot of people were kind of saying, you know what, they did it, now let's move on. Well, it's been officially 6 years since the scandal happened. It has been 6 whole seasons since the Houston Astros did the 2017 World Series, the trash can, stealing signs and all that. The Houston Astros won a World Series this past year. And it's really begged the question, is it time to forgive the Houston Astros? Is it time to move on from what the Houston Astros did? Because the Houston Astros organization has never fully come out and admit that it was illegal. Houston Astros players have not come out and have said that, yes, I apologize for my actions. Yes, what I did was wrong. So when you really sit back and analyze it, A, should baseball fans move on from the 2017 World Series scandal? And B, should there even be any apology? Should there be any forgiveness about the Houston Astros scandal 6 years later? Because they've won a World Series now. They had a new banner underneath the 2017 World Series. So it just really makes you beg the question, is the Houston Astros, should there be an apology? Should there be a forgiveness? Or should there just be, let's move on, it's happened, it's done and over with, it's buried, let's just move on? Continuing our conversation here on the Sports Angle on PRConnectionsRadio.com, the voice of new media. I'm your host, Ian Rickelli. And you know what? Let's talk about the West Coast. Let's get everybody here on the West Coast and everybody involved. And let's talk about the Arizona Diamondbacks for just a minute. Because the Arizona Diamondbacks, they have opened up their opening day. And they did it in a very down situation. The Los Angeles Dodgers absolutely dismantled the Arizona Diamondbacks in their opening game. The Arizona Diamondbacks lost 8-2, and Zach Gallen, he had 6 hits, 5 earned runs in 4 innings pitched. A very unfortunate situation. He also had very key players, like, for example, Kyle Lewis, Evan Longoria, Gabriel Moreno, Corbin Carroll, and Jake McCarthy. They all did not get a hit in the opening game for Arizona. So, very unfortunate situation, but I believe they will turn it around. MLB is not just a one-game affair. It is 162 games. Let's move over to the Colorado Rockies for just a minute. Because the Colorado Rockies are a team on the West Coast, and they won 7-2. They beat the San Diego Padres, a team that was a fan favorite, a team that a lot of people had high expectations on heading into the year. Now, the one part that really was a takeaway is Chris Bryant, who went 3 for 5 for Colorado, and CJ Cron, who went 4 for 5 for Colorado. So they had two great performances on opening day for Colorado. The San Diego Padres, not the same deal. Juan Soto went 0 for 4 for San Diego. Manny Machado went 1 for 3. And you had players like Cronenworth, Dahl, and Carpenter go 0 for 4 or 0 for 3. So Colorado, they picked up the victory there, did pretty well against San Diego on opening day. And I already talked about Houston, them going up against the Chicago White Sox. I already mentioned the fact that Chicago White Sox beat the Houston Astros in the opener of the MLB season. But what about the Anaheim Angels? How did the Anaheim Angels do on opening day? How did Shohei Ohtani do for the Anaheim Angels? Well, the Oakland AAAs, as some people are calling them, beat the Anaheim Angels 2-1 in this game. Tony Kemp, he had a double that actually made it 1-1, and then he scored when Diaz had a single to left field, and that made them win a 2-1 game after scoring 2 runs in the 8th. Now, I'm not going to sit here and act like this is going to be one of the greatest things ever, but let me tell you what I do see here. And yes, looking for Bryant to have a big year in Colorado. You know what? I wish that Chris Bryant has a big year in Colorado. I think that Chris Bryant, he's always going to be a Cub. He won NL MVP, won NL Rookie of the Year. But hey, sports is a business. All right, we all get it. Sports is a business. He was offered a lot of money to go to Colorado, and you wouldn't turn that down if it was offered to you. So yeah, hopefully he has a big year in Colorado. I could see that. Now, back to the Anaheim Angels, them losing 2-1 to Oakland. I mean, Shohei Ohtani, he's only one guy. And this has actually become a reoccurring theme in the Anaheim Angels situation. Look, as much as people want to say they have two of the top 5 players in baseball, Mike Trout and Shohei Ohtani cannot be your entire roster. Anthony Rendon getting into a fight with a fan while grabbing a fan's shirt and trying to punch him. That's a situation Anaheim Angels really don't want you to talk about. The fact that Mike Trout compared the World Baseball Classic to the last time he made it to the MLB playoffs is embarrassing to the Angels organization. And despite what happens next year, look, if Shohei Ohtani signs for $600 million someplace else, so be it. But the Anaheim Angels are going to be known and are always going to be known for this. The Anaheim Angels had 2, not 1, but 2 generational talents in baseball, and they wasted both of them. Regardless of what happens with Mike Trout could be an Angel forever, regardless. Shohei Ohtani was a generational talent. He was a once-in-a-lifetime talent. What Shohei Ohtani is doing as a pitcher and what Shohei Ohtani is doing as a hitter is unprecedented. And what Shohei Ohtani has done for the Angels, you should be a playoff team if he was on anybody else. But he's playing for the Angels, and the Angels are not going to build a roster around Shohei Ohtani. And I agree with you. The Angels need to let Ohtani walk and then trade Trout. It's exactly what they need to do. So as we're going to be doing a half-hour show here on the Sports Angle on PRConnectionRadio.com, the voice of new media, it's going to be a shortened show talking about MLB opening day here on this program. The Los Angeles Dodgers, they took care of business. They beat the Arizona Diamondbacks 8-2. And in all honesty, it looks like the Dodgers are just going to repeat what they've done the last 6 or 7 years, and that is dominate the NL West. I mean, this is a Los Angeles Dodgers team that just kept scoring and scoring and scoring. And did I mention they scored again? I mean, Julio Urias, one of the best pitchers in baseball. He had a stellar campaign the past 2 seasons. Now he is putting up 6 innings pitched, 4 hits allowed, 6 strikeouts on the day. And you have to give a lot of credit to players like Will Smith, who had 4 RBIs and went 3 for 4 for the LA Dodgers on the day. So he had a very spectacular opening day for the LA Dodgers. And, you had some former Diamondbacks on the LA Dodgers team that scored as well, which kind of made it a little bit symbolic. Did JD Martinez, a former Diamondback, he singled to right field to score a run. David Peralta, the former captain of the Arizona Diamondbacks, he singled to center field, and then he had Will Smith score again. So the LA Dodgers, with a bunch of former Diamondbacks on the team, managed to beat said Diamondbacks team. Now, look, regardless of what happens with the AL West and what happens with the NL West, I can just point out that you have 3 solid teams in the NL West. Arizona's on the rise. San Diego, they're trying to stay firm. And the LA Dodgers, thanks to their scouting and developing and all the money they spend, the LA Dodgers are going to be a force to be reckoned with this entire year, regardless if you like them or not. American League is a little bit more direct. The Seattle Mariners and Houston Astros are going to be by far the 2 best teams in the AL West. Texas and Anaheim will be battling it out for who gets to around 500. And the Oakland AAAs are going to have 50 to 55 wins on the year. I mean, I'll say this. I think the Las Vegas Aviators have a chance of winning more games this year than the Oakland Athletics do. I mean, the Oakland Athletics are not going to be selling out as many games as the Las Vegas Aviators. I'll say that in full confidence. So speaking of those Las Vegas Aviators, let's talk about them for a couple of minutes. Your Las Vegas Aviators out at the Las Vegas ballpark, they had their opening night in Reno, Nevada, taking on the Reno Aces, and it was a stellar game all around. You had the Las Vegas Aviators and the Reno Aces at the Greater Nevada field, and it was a shootout that eventually was won by Reno. Reno won 13-9. 22 runs in a AAA game, and Reno putting up all those runs against Las Vegas. And, what fascinates me is the fact of how many pitchers were used on each respective side. The Las Vegas Aviators used 6 pitchers on the day, and the Reno Aces used 6 on the opposite side. So it was really a back and forth when it came to pitching. One pitcher would come out, the other pitcher would come out too. I also want to say that Cody Thomas hitting a home run for the Las Vegas Aviators. He was the first of the season, and their first baseman, Garcia, he also did pretty well for them as well, hitting a home run right after him a couple of innings later. So this Las Vegas Aviators team is going to be fun to watch. You're going to have players like Kevin Smith at shortstop. You'll have Tyler Sodrum, who is a top prospect in the Oakland Athletics system, at catcher. Cody Thomas, who I mentioned earlier. You have JJ Belede, who is a former Marlins top prospect, now a member of the Las Vegas Aviators. And you have a veteran in the outfield in Tyler Wade. Now, Tyler Wade, he has been in the minors for almost a decade now. And, he has been drifting around from team to team. He has been with the Anaheim Angels. He's been with the New York Yankees. This guy's been around a little bit. So Tyler Wade, now a part of the Las Vegas Aviators. And I also got to give credit to their left fielder in Pablo Reyes, another veteran they have on the team. I mean, this is a guy who has been a member of AAA since 2017, and he has kind of drifted around from ball club to ball club, now a member of the Las Vegas Aviators. And since I'm talking about the Las Vegas Aviators, let's preview their opening weekend here in Las Vegas while we're at it. The schedule for the Las Vegas Aviators, their home opener will be on Tuesday, April 4th. The Oklahoma City Dodgers will come down to Las Vegas to take on your Las Vegas Aviators. And if you are a baseball fan, I highly recommend going to Las Vegas Ballpark and checking out the Las Vegas Aviators. This is going to be year 4 that the Las Vegas Aviators will be at Las Vegas Ballpark. And they're going to have a lot of good events in the month of April. They'll take on the Oklahoma City Dodgers April 4th to April 9th. They'll take on the Salt Lake Bees April 11th to April 16th. And the Tacoma Rainiers at April 25th to April 30th. So if you're a baseball fan, I highly recommend checking out the Las Vegas Aviators. They also are going to have some good promotions in 2023, which I highly recommend. As a matter of fact, I'll give you the promotions right here and right now. On Friday night, they will have Firework Friday. This has been a staple of the Las Vegas Aviators for a decade plus now. On Friday nights, you can celebrate a win by seeing fireworks at Las Vegas Ballpark. On Thursday night, they have $2 beer night at Las Vegas Ballpark. So on Thursday nights, as long as you have a ride at the end, you drink responsibly. You go there on Thursday night, $2 beer night, and it's fantastic. On Wednesday night, they have Bark in the Park, brought to you by Subaru of Las Vegas. Bring your dog along, bring him to the ballpark, and you can watch a game with your dog on Wednesday nights at Las Vegas Ballpark. And they also are going to have throwback games on Sunday. So on Sunday afternoons, they will be doing a promotion to commemorate their 40 years here in Las Vegas. And for example, their Sunday game against Oklahoma City, they will be donning the Las Vegas Stars throwback jersey, which was the original name of the Las Vegas Aviators back in the day. And their fan favorite on Tuesdays, they will have their Copa de la División, where the Reyes de Plata will be on the field instead of the Las Vegas Aviators, and they will take on the Salt Lake Bees on Tuesday, April 11th, and on fellow Tuesday nights, they will be the Reyes de Plata. So that's just a couple of promotions and some really great things you can see from the Las Vegas Aviators in 2023. I highly recommend checking them out. So, we're talking about all of that. I will say with MLB, as we're getting towards the half-hour mark here, it's going to be a fantastic season, and I'm going to leave you with my World Series prediction. Now, this team is 14-1. This team is a middle-of-the-pack team. It's not going to be a long shot. They're not going to be a favorite either. However, I trust the talent, and I believe that they can get the job done. So my pick to win the 2023 World Series this year is out there in Canada, and that is the Toronto Blue Jays. The Toronto Blue Jays have stellar pitching. They have a top 10 bullpen and have one of the best lineups in all of baseball today. And they're going to be in a division that's going to make them fight for it day in and day out. So it's going to be fantastic to see Toronto go all the way. And I will be very excited to say that the Toronto Blue Jays winning the World Series this upcoming year will be the first time in 30 years that Canada will have a World Series title brought back to its country. So, if you want to leave your World Series prediction down below, go right ahead. But I just wanted to let everybody know that the sports angle on PRConnectionsRadio.com, the voice of new media, we are going to say that the Toronto Blue Jays will be our 2023 World Series prediction on tonight's show. So it's going to be an amazing season, and I want to give a quick shout out to everyone watching on PRConnectionsRadio.com, the voice of new media. I'm also going to say watch all the content on this network. Brian Gardner, he has We Got the Power right up here in the upper right-hand corner if you want to check it out. I will leave a tab on there. You have Sandra, with Voices of Humanity, a fantastic show. If you really want to, listen to Sandra, she is here on Friday nights. She does an excellent show. Aunt Shirley, she comes out with shows as well. Man, I like Aunt Shirley. She's awesome. And I also will say a shout out to Cozy Stone, because when she comes out with her content, It is thought-provoking, it's engaging, and it is a show that you cannot miss here on prconnectionsradio.com, the voice of new media. And yes, Cozy, I will talk about pickleball at some point. Just give me a second. When I learn the rules and I learn everything about it, I definitely will talk about it here on this show. So yeah, Cozy Stone, you have the professional podcast on Tuesdays. You have Crypto and Cash on Mondays. Brett and Dan, they do a phenomenal show on Mondays talking about crypto and cash. So if you want to check out that show, if you're really into the money and financials and economics, I definitely recommend checking out Brett and Dan, the Crypto and Cash podcast. And then lastly, I do have to give a shout out, by the way, to Guy Dawson, the founder of PR Connections Radio, because frankly, if he didn't put me on PR Connections Radio, this show would not be on right now. So definitely thanks to Guy Dawson. So this was another great edition of the Sports Angle on prconnectionsradio.com, the voice of new media. Next week, we are going to focus on the NFL draft coming up. And we're also going to be doing a trivia night here on the Sports Angle on prconnectionsradio.com. So definitely, I will keep you posted on the trivia night and how you can participate on our trivia night that we're going to do here. So we're going to have a lot of great content coming up. But until then, I'm your host, Ian Rickelli. This was a fantastic episode of the Sports Angle on PR Connections Radio, and have a good one.